Gate agent Chris Harper's voice dripped with contempt as he physically blocked Dr. Nicole Bennett's path with his body. His eyes swept her navy Armani suit with obvious disdain. He smirked at her $3,000 leather briefcase like it was a fake knockoff. "Let me guess," Chris continued, loud enough for the entire gate area to hear. "Someone gave you that boarding pass. Maybe you found it." He tapped his clipboard directly against her chest, pushing her backward. "The charity line is over there, sweetheart. Economy boarding starts soon," Chris announced loudly. Heads turned, phones lifted. A teenager named Kayla hit record. Dr. Nicole Bennett adjusted the small badge on her jacket lapel, barely visible, Federal blue and gold. She checked her Patek Philippe watch. "Have you ever held the power to change everything while being treated like you were nothing?" Dr. Nicole Bennett's jaw tightened, but her voice remained steady. "There's no misunderstanding. This is my seat." She held up her boarding pass. 1A, first class. The gold elite status symbol gleamed under the harsh terminal lights. Chris snatched the pass, examining it like a detective studying evidence. "Lisa," he called over his supervisor with theatrical urgency, "we've got a situation here." Lisa Morgan materialized beside him, her polyester uniform stretched tight across her frame. She took one look at Dr. Nicole Bennett and crossed her arms. "What's the issue?" "Premium boarding pass authenticity," Chris announced, waving the ticket. "Doesn't seem legitimate." Dr. Nicole Bennett's phone buzzed with a text message about the Senate hearing. Critical vote pending. She silenced it calmly. Flight 447 was boarding. The gate announcement echoed. Lisa squinted at the boarding pass under the scanner. The machine beeped green. Valid. She frowned, scanning it again. Still green. "Sometimes the system glitches," she muttered to Chris. "Ma'am, we need to verify this ticket wasn't acquired improperly," Lisa said, emphasizing the word like it tasted bitter. "Corporate policy requires additional screening for suspicious bookings." Behind them, passengers began forming a line. A teenager with purple braids, Kayla, pulled out her phone. The TikTok app opened. The live stream started. "Y'all seeing this discrimination at Gate B7?" she whispered to her camera. "They're literally harassing this professional woman for flying first class." Comments started flooding in. "Not again? Where's this happening? Someone call the manager." Dr. Nicole Bennett noticed the phone pointed at her but didn't react. She checked her own phone. Missed calls from Chairman Harris. Her Federal Aviation Administration badge caught the light briefly as she adjusted her jacket. "I understand you're following protocol," Dr. Nicole Bennett said, her tone measured. "However, I do need to board this flight," Chris scoffed. "Maybe you should try Southwest next time, more your budget range." He air-quoted the words, grinning at Lisa. The comment hit its mark. Several passengers shifted uncomfortably. Kayla's live stream count jumped to 47 viewers. "Excuse me," an elderly white woman stepped forward. "I couldn't help but overhear. This is unacceptable behavior." Chris's smile vanished. "Ma'am, please return to your seat." "This is official airline business." "Official discrimination is what this is," the woman replied sharply. Lisa pulled Chris aside, whispering urgently. Their body language screamed panic. Crossed arms became protective barriers. Glances darted between Dr. Nicole Bennett and the growing crowd. Dr. Nicole Bennett's phone buzzed again, this time a text from the oversight team. "Protocol 7 standby awaiting your signal," she typed back quickly. "Not yet. Documenting. Final boarding call for Flight 447. The announcement crackled. "We're just ensuring passenger safety through proper verification procedures." Kayla's live stream hit 156 viewers. Comments poured in faster. "This is racial profiling. Get their names. Corporate needs to see this." "Look," Chris said, his voice taking on a fake sympathetic tone. "These people always try to game the system. We've seen it before. Fake tickets, stolen miles, credit card fraud." The words hung in the air like toxic smoke. Every passenger within 20 feet heard them. Phones lifted higher. More recordings started. Dr. Nicole Bennett opened her briefcase, a small action that somehow commanded attention. Inside, leather dividers held documents with government seals, a federal ID badge, a tablet with official logos. She pulled out a small recording device, no bigger than a pen, and set it on the counter. The red light blinked steadily. "For the record," she said quietly, "present are Gate Agent Chris Harper, Supervisor Lisa Morgan, and approximately 40 witnesses." Chris's confident smirk faltered. "What are you doing?" Dr. Nicole Bennett replied. "Please continue with your verification procedures." Lisa grabbed Chris's arm, pulling him 2 steps away. Their whispered conversation grew heated. Hand gestures became more frantic. "Security to gate B7, Lisa announced into her radio. "We have an uncooperative passenger." The words uncooperative passenger sent a chill through the waiting area. Everyone knew what happened to uncooperative passengers, especially black ones. Dr. Nicole Bennett remained perfectly still. She checked her watch, a Patek Philippe that cost more than Chris's annual salary. Her phone showed missed calls now, all from numbers with .gov extensions. Kayla's live stream exploded to 891 viewers. She'd tagged the airline's official account. Comments became a digital roar. "This is going viral. Someone identify these employees. We see you, sister. Stay strong." "Airport security is on the way," Lisa announced with false authority. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to step away from the gate area." Dr. Nicole Bennett's phone rang. She glanced at the caller ID, Senator Rivera, Commerce Committee. She declined the call and sent a text instead. "Delay hearing. Gathering evidence." The response came immediately. "Evidence of what?" Dr. Nicole Bennett's fingers moved across the keyboard. Title 7 violations in progress. "Real-time documentation required. Flight 447 final boarding call. All passengers should be on board." The crowd grew larger. Passengers from other gates wandered over. Someone had shared Kayla's live stream on Twitter. The airline's social media mentions began climbing. Chris straightened his tie, trying to regain composure. "Ma'am, for the final time, please proceed to the appropriate boarding area." "And where exactly is that?" Dr. Nicole Bennett asked. "Economy, coach. The back of the plane," he said slowly, like speaking to a child. "Where you belong." The words crystallized in the air. Pure, undiluted racism. No coded language, no plausible deniability. Kayla's live stream hit 1,247 viewers. Dr. Nicole Bennett smiled for the first time since arriving at the gate. Not a pleasant smile, not a friendly smile. The smile of someone who had just been handed exactly what she needed. Heavy footsteps echoed across the terminal. Airport security officer David Torres approached, his hand resting casually on his radio. Unlike Chris and Lisa, his expression showed no malice, just weariness. "What seems to be the problem here?" Officer Torres asked, his tone professional but tired. Before anyone could answer, a new voice cut through the tension. "I'm Stephen Caldwell, gate manager." A man in an ill-fitting suit strode over, confidence radiating from every step. "Officer Torres, we need this individual removed from the boarding area." Officer Torres frowned. "Removed for what?" "Disrupting airline operations," Stephen replied without missing a beat, refusing to comply with security procedures. Dr. Nicole Bennett hadn't moved from her position, hadn't raised her voice, hadn't touched anyone. Yet somehow, she was the disruptor. "Ma'am," Officer Torres said gently, "is there somewhere else you can wait while this gets sorted out?" Flight 447 gate closing. The announcement blared. Dr. Nicole Bennett's phone exploded with notifications. Her lock screen showed missed calls from Chairman Harris, texts from the Senate Commerce Committee, WhatsApp messages from the FAA crisis team. She opened one text, "Vote delayed. Where are you, Chairman?" Her fingers moved quickly. Delayed by discrimination incident documenting federal contractor violations in real time. The response came in seconds. "Are you serious? Dead serious. This could change everything." Kayla's live stream had exploded to 3,200 viewers. The comment section moved too fast to read. "Make this go viral. Tag every news station. Someone called Al Sharpton. This is exactly why we can't have nice things." Stephen noticed the growing crowd and the phones. His corporate instincts kicked in. "Ladies and gentlemen, please disperse. This is a private security matter." An older black woman stepped forward. "Private? Half the airport is watching. Nothing private about public discrimination." "Ma'am, please return to your gate," Stephen demanded. "This is my gate," she replied, holding up her boarding pass. 1B, first class, right next to where this young lady should be sitting. More passengers joined the circle. A white businessman in an expensive suit, a Latina mother with 2 children, a young Asian man with a military haircut. The children stared with wide eyes, witnessing America in real time. "This is getting out of hand," Lisa whispered to Chris. "Maybe we should just let her board." "Absolutely not," Stephen interjected. "We don't negotiate with troublemakers." Officer Torres looked increasingly uncomfortable. 23 years on the force had taught him to recognize when situations were about to explode. "Look, why don't we all take a step back?" "No stepping back," Stephen interrupted. "Officer Torres, I need you to escort this woman from the terminal. She's been asked to leave multiple times." "Actually," Officer Torres said slowly, "I haven't heard anyone ask her to leave. I heard complaints about ticket verification." Stephen's face reddened. "I'm asking now. She's trespassing." Dr. Nicole Bennett spoke for the first time in several minutes. "Officer Torres, I'd like to clarify something. I haven't refused to comply with any legitimate security procedures. I've offered my boarding pass, my identification, and my full cooperation." Her voice carried across the gate area, clear, calm, authoritative. "What I haven't done is accept false accusations or submit to discriminatory treatment prohibited under federal law." Stephen laughed, a harsh, ugly sound. "Federal law, lady? This is private property. We have the right to refuse service to anyone." "Not anyone," Dr. Nicole Bennett replied quietly. "Federal contractors have specific obligations regarding discrimination. Title VII, Civil Rights Act, Federal Aviation Regulations, Part 139. The legal terms hung in the air like incantations. Most passengers didn't understand them, but they understood the tone, the confidence, the precision. Stephen's laugh died. "Are you threatening to sue us?" "I'm stating facts," Dr. Nicole Bennett replied. Her phone buzzed again. Text from Oversight Team. Live stream tagged us. Viewers. CNN picked it up. Orders, Dr. Nicole Bennett typed quickly. Stand by. Let it play out. Kayla's live stream had indeed drawn thousands of viewers. Someone had cross-posted to Instagram. Another person shared it on Facebook. The airline's Twitter mentions climbed. Flight 447 final call. The gate closes soon. Stephen made his decision. "Officer Torres, arrest her for trespassing." Officer Torres stepped back. "Sir, I can't arrest someone for standing in an airport terminal with a valid ticket." "Then I'll call someone who will," Stephen snarled, pulling out his phone. Dr. Nicole Bennett opened her briefcase again. This time she pulled out the Federal Aviation Administration tablet, its official seal prominently displayed. She powered it on, her fingers dancing across the screen. "What is that?" Officer Torres asked. "Federal Compliance Monitoring System," Dr. Nicole Bennett replied without looking up. "Real-time violation reporting." Chris finally spoke up, his voice cracking. "Violation reporting for what?" Dr. Nicole Bennett's eyes met his for the first time since this began. Discrimination by federal contractors, Title VII violations, Civil Rights Act breaches, Federal Aviation Regulation non-compliance. She began typing, her voice narrating each entry. Initial contact, discriminatory language documented, physical blocking of access, hostile work environment created for federal officials conducting oversight. Stephen lunged forward. "Give me that thing." Officer Torres stepped between them. "Sir, you need to calm down." "Do you know what she's doing?" Stephen yelled. "She's filing false reports against the airline." "Not false," Dr. Nicole Bennett said, still typing. "Documented, recorded, witnessed by approximately 60 people and thousands of live stream viewers." "As if on cue," Kayla called out. "Viewers now. This is trending on TikTok." The number kept climbing. Social media algorithms had caught the scent of controversy. Stephen's phone rang. He answered with shaking hands. "Stephen here?" "What, how many news outlets? Christ. No, it's not under control." He hung up, sweat beading on his forehead. Corporate headquarters wants a full report now. Dr. Nicole Bennett saved her work on the tablet, then looked up at the assembled crowd. Passengers, airline employees, security, social media, all eyes on her. "Ladies and gentlemen," she announced, "I want to thank you for witnessing this interaction. Your presence has been invaluable." She stood slowly, gathering her belongings with deliberate precision. "Officer Torres, am I free to board my flight now?" Officer Torres looked at Stephen. Stephen looked at his phone, still ringing with calls from corporate. Lisa and Chris looked at each other with growing panic. Final boarding call. Flight 447. The gate closes immediately. The plane's engines could be heard spinning up. Through the window, passengers could see the jet bridge beginning to pull away. Stephen made his last desperate play. "The flight is closed. Gates closed. You missed it because of your behavior." Dr. Nicole Bennett smiled again. that same dangerous smile. Actually, Mr. Caldwell, federal regulations require airlines to accommodate federal officials on official business, even when delays are caused by discriminatory treatment. She pulled out her Federal Aviation Administration badge, no longer hidden, no longer subtle. The gold eagle gleamed under the terminal lights. My name is Dr. Nicole Bennett, Director of Compliance Oversight, Federal Aviation Administration. And this flight waits for me. The gate area fell silent, except for the hum of fluorescent lights and Kayla's whispered live stream commentary. Y'all, I think we just witnessed something historic. The number on her screen ticked over, viewers and climbing. The silence stretched. Then chaos erupted. Stephen's face drained of all color. Lisa's hands flew to her mouth. Chris stepped backward like he'd been slapped. Officer Torres straightened his posture unconsciously, a lifetime of respecting federal authority kicking in. Federal Aviation Administration? Officer Torres asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Dr. Nicole Bennett held up her credentials, not the small badge that had been hidden on her lapel, the full leather wallet with gold eagle, official photograph, and government seal. Director of Compliance Oversight, Western Region, badge number 4471. The leather credential holder caught the light as she held it steady. Every passenger within 30 feet craned their necks to see. Phones zoomed in. Kayla's live stream chat exploded. Oh my God, she's federal. They're so screwed. This is better than a movie. Stephen fumbled with his phone, speed dialing someone. Code red, he hissed into the receiver. We have a federal official. Yes, the Federal Aviation official. I don't know how we... She didn't say anything. But Dr. Nicole Bennett had said something. She'd been saying something all along. The legal terms, the federal regulations, the compliance monitoring. They just hadn't been listening. Chris found his voice first, stammering. Dr. Bennett, we didn't know. There was no identification shown. I showed my boarding pass, Dr. Nicole Bennett replied calmly. I provided my full cooperation. I stated I needed to board this flight. What I didn't do was announce my federal position because this was supposed to be routine travel. She paused, letting that sink in. However, when federal contractors engage in discriminatory behavior, routine travel becomes an official investigation. Dr. Nicole Bennett opened her FAA tablet fully now, no longer hiding the screen. The interface showed real-time violation tracking, case numbers, federal statute references, legal code violations accumulating like a slot machine hitting a jackpot. Title VII discrimination confirmed. 42 U.S.C. Section 1981 violation documented. Federal contractor noncompliance verified. Each legal citation she entered carried weight, real weight, monetary weight. Officer Torres leaned closer, reading over her shoulder. His police training had taught him to recognize federal systems. This wasn't fake. This wasn't theater. This was the real thing. Ma'am, Officer Torres said carefully, how can we fix this situation? Before Dr. Nicole Bennett could answer, Stephen's phone rang again and again and again. The corporate crisis machine had awakened. Stephen here? What do you mean, CNN is calling? How did they get the story so fast? Viewers? Christ almighty. Kayla's live stream had indeed caught CNN's attention. A producer scrolling TikTok had seen airport discrimination trending. Within minutes, the story was being packaged for the evening news cycle. But Dr. Nicole Bennett wasn't done revealing cards. She scrolled through her phone's recent calls, holding the screen where everyone could see. The call log read like a Washington, D.C. power directory. Chairman Harris, missed calls. Senate Commerce Committee, missed calls. Transportation Secretary, missed calls. White House Liaison, missed calls. You see, Dr. Nicole Bennett said, her voice carrying across the now silent gate area, I wasn't just trying to catch a flight tonight. I was traveling to Washington, D.C. for an emergency Senate Commerce Committee hearing. She paused for effect. A hearing about airline industry discrimination. A hearing where I'm the lead witness. A hearing where my testimony will determine whether Congress renews the Federal Aviation Contract Program. Stephen stopped mid-conversation with his corporate handler. What program? Dr. Nicole Bennett's smile returned, patient, educational, terrifying. The program that provides billions annually in federal contracts to major airlines for roads, security, infrastructure, Maintenance. Your airline alone receives hundreds of millions per year through this program. The numbers hit like physical blows. Stephen actually staggered. But surely, Lisa interrupted desperately, one incident wouldn't affect an entire program. One incident. Dr. Nicole Bennett pulled up another screen on her tablet. This is Incident Report Database Access. Let me show you something interesting. Her fingers moved across the tablet with surgical precision. Data populated the screen. Complaints, violations, patterns. O'Hare International Airport in Chicago, your airline's hub. Discrimination complaints recently. Racial profiling incidents. All documented, all investigated, all showing a clear pattern of systemic bias. The crowd pressed closer. Passengers who had started the evening just wanting to get home were now witnessing a masterclass in federal power. Tonight's incident, Dr. Nicole Bennett continued, represents the final data point needed to establish a Title VII pattern and practice violation. Under federal contractor regulations, pattern violations trigger automatic contract review. She let that sink in before delivering the knockout punch. Automatic contract review means immediate suspension of federal funding pending investigation. For your airline, that means millions in lost revenue per day while the investigation proceeds. Stephen's phone had stopped ringing. He stood frozen, math running through his head. Millions per day for investigations that typically lasted months. The corporate death sentence delivered in quiet, measured tones. However, Dr. Nicole Bennett said, and the single word carried infinite weight. There are procedures for avoiding contract review, voluntary compliance programs, immediate remediation, good faith efforts to address systemic problems. Hope flickered across Stephen's face. Of course, those procedures require acknowledgement of wrongdoing, complete cooperation with federal oversight, and most importantly, she paused. They require the discriminatory behavior to be addressed at the source. Her eyes moved slowly across Chris, Lisa, and Stephen. Chris cracked first. Dr. Bennett, I apologize. I made a mistake. A terrible mistake. I jumped to conclusions and— Stop! Dr. Nicole Bennett's voice cut through his babbling. Apologies don't address systemic problems. Systemic problems require systemic solutions. She pulled up a new screen on her tablet, one that made Stephen's face go completely white. Federal Contractor Database Real-Time Compliance Status. Your airline's current rating is under review as of tonight. Yellow status. The screen showed a simple traffic light system. Green meant compliant. Yellow meant warning. Red meant contract termination. It takes 48 hours to move from yellow to red, Doctor. Nicole Bennett explained, unless, of course, immediate remediation measures are implemented. Kayla's live stream had hit thousands of viewers. Comments streamed past faster than human eyes could follow, but 3 words kept repeating, they're so screwed. Stephen's corporate training finally kicked in. Damage control mode. Dr. Bennett, what would immediate remediation look like? Dr. Nicole Bennett closed her tablet with a soft click. The sound somehow managed to be both gentle and ominous. Mr. Caldwell, that's an excellent question, but before we discuss remediation, I think there's something else you should know. Another card, another reveal. She pulled out her phone and opened her text messages, specifically the thread labeled Senate Commerce Committee. Tonight's hearing isn't just about discrimination, she said, holding the phone where Stephen could read the messages. It's about the Federal Aviation Reauthorization Act, the legislation that determines whether the current contractor system continues for the coming years. Stephen read the text chain over her shoulder. Chairman, how strong is your discrimination evidence? Dr. Bennett, strong enough to change the entire industry. Chairman, good. We need ammunition for the reform provisions. Dr. Bennett, you'll have it. Real-time documentation. You see, Mr. Caldwell, Dr. Nicole Bennett continued, Congress has been debating whether to reform airline regulation. Some members think the current system is too lenient. They want stricter oversight, higher penalties, mandatory federal monitors at every major airport. She paused, letting the implications build. Others think the current system works fine with minor adjustments. The vote determines which side wins, and my testimony, based on real incidents, real data, real discrimination, will likely be the deciding factor. Stephen understood. He was staring at a woman who could reshape the entire airline industry with a single congressional testimony. A woman his employees had just discriminated against while it was being live-streamed to thousands of people. Now, Dr. Nicole Bennett said, closing her phone, shall we discuss immediate remediation? Or would you prefer I catch the next flight to Washington and deliver my testimony exactly as originally planned? The choice was clear. Comply or face the consequences. Stephen looked at Chris and Lisa, the two people who had just handed a federal official the ammunition she needed to destroy their industry. "What do you need from us?" he asked quietly. Dr. Nicole Bennett checked her watch. The Senate hearing had been delayed to accommodate her travel. She had time for one more reveal. "Before we discuss terms," she said, opening her briefcase one final time, "I should mention that this entire interaction has been recorded, not just by social media, but by federal surveillance equipment." She pulled out a device no bigger than a smartphone, but with official government markings. "Federal Aviation Administration Field Recording Unit. Every word, every gesture, every discriminatory action has been documented according to federal evidence standards. This recording will be entered into the official case file and presented to Congress as Exhibit A." The final card was played. The hand was over. Chris, Lisa, and Stephen stood looking at a woman who had just demonstrated the difference between power and authority. They had power, the power to deny boarding, to call security, to make demands. She had authority, the authority to end careers, terminate contracts, and reshape industries. "Now," Dr. Nicole Bennett said, her voice returning to its original calm tone, "let's discuss how we fix this, all of this." Kayla's live stream hit thousands of viewers. The revolution would be digitized. The final card was played. The hand was over. But Dr. Nicole Bennett wasn't finished. She looked directly at the live stream camera in Kayla's hands. "Ladies and gentlemen watching at home, what you've witnessed tonight represents something larger than one incident. This is about systemic change." Her voice carried the authority of someone who understood power at its deepest level. "Every federal contractor, airlines, defense companies, healthcare systems, operates under the same regulations I enforce. Title VII doesn't just apply to airlines, it applies everywhere federal money flows." She gestured to the crowd of passengers, all recording, all witnessing. "Your documentation tonight, your social media posts, your willingness to stand up and say, 'This is wrong,' that creates the pressure that forces institutional change." Stephen's phone buzzed with another call. This time he looked at the caller ID and his face went ashen. "Board of Directors," he whispered to Lisa. Dr. Nicole Bennett noticed his reaction. "Mr. Caldwell, I assume your board is calling about stock price impact. Social media tends to affect markets quickly these days." She was right. Kayla's live stream had been shared across multiple platforms. #airline discrimination was trending on Twitter. The airline stock had dropped 1.2% in after-hours trading, a $47 million market cap loss. "Dr. Bennett," Stephen said, his voice barely steady. "What happens next?" Dr. Nicole Bennett closed her briefcase with deliberate precision. "What happens next, Mr. Caldwell, depends entirely on your airline's commitment to change, real change, systemic change." She checked her watch one final time. "I have a Senate hearing soon, a hearing where I'll testify about exactly this type of discrimination. The question is, will tonight's incident be cited as evidence of an industry that refuses to change, or as an example of an airline that chose to lead by implementing immediate reforms?" The choice crystallized in the air between them. Chris, Lisa, and Stephen stood looking at a woman who had just demonstrated the difference between power and authority. They had power, the power to deny boarding, to call security, to make demands. She had authority, the authority to end careers, terminate contracts, and reshape industries. Officer Torres stepped forward. "Dr. Bennett, is there anything else you need from airport security?" "Actually, yes," Dr. Nicole Bennett replied. "I'd like this incident documented in your official report. Federal regulations require law enforcement cooperation in discrimination investigations." Officer Torres nodded, already pulling out his incident report tablet. "Absolutely, ma'am." The bureaucratic machinery was shifting into motion. Official reports, federal investigations, congressional testimony, media coverage, all because 3 airline employees had looked at a black woman in a business suit and decided she didn't belong in first class. "Now," Dr. Nicole Bennett said, her voice returning to its original calm tone, "let's discuss how we fix this, all of this." Kayla's live stream hit thousands of viewers. The revolution would be digitized. Stephen's phone erupted with an incoming video call. The caller ID read, "Deborah Walsh, CEO office." His hands shook as he accepted the call. Deborah Walsh materialized on the screen. Sharp suit, sharper expression, and the barely controlled fury of someone watching their company's reputation implode in real time. "Stephen? What the hell is happening at Gate B7? Her voice cut through the phone speaker loud enough for everyone to hear. "Ma'am, we have a situation with—" "I know what we have," Walsh interrupted. "I have the CNN news desk calling my personal line. I have our stock down in after-hours trading. I have a goddamn viral video with thousands of viewers watching our employees discriminate against a federal official." The number had climbed again. Kayla mouthed the number to her camera. Walsh continued. "But most importantly, Stephen, I have our general counsel telling me we're about to lose our federal aviation contracts. Contracts worth hundreds of millions annually. So I'll ask again, what the hell is happening?" Dr. Nicole Bennett stepped into the phone's camera view. "Ms. Walsh, I'm Dr. Nicole Bennett, Federal Aviation Administration. Perhaps I can clarify the situation." Walsh's expression shifted from anger to something approaching terror. "Dr. Bennett, we've heard your name in industry meetings." "I'm sure you have," Dr. Nicole Bennett replied calmly. "Ms. Walsh, your employees have created a situation that requires immediate corporate response. We have documented Title VII violations, federal contractor noncompliance, and a pattern of discriminatory behavior." Behind the phone, Dr. Nicole Bennett could see other executives gathering in Walsh's office. Crisis mode, emergency meetings, damage control teams assembling. "What are your requirements for resolution?" Walsh asked, cutting straight to business. Dr. Nicole Bennett had been waiting for this question. "Federal contractor obligations are non-negotiable. Title VII compliance. Civil Rights Act adherence. Immediate remediation of discriminatory practices." She paused, letting the legal weight settle. "Specifically, immediate suspension of employees involved. Mandatory company-wide bias training. Third-party monitoring of customer interactions. Financial settlement to address damages." Stephen's face went white. "Suspension? Ma'am, we can provide additional training." "Mr. Caldwell," Dr. Nicole Bennett interrupted, "you called for my arrest for trespassing in an airport terminal while I held a valid first-class ticket. Those actions demonstrate judgment incompatible with customer service responsibilities." Walsh's voice came through the phone. "What level of financial settlement are we discussing?" "Federal discrimination settlements typically range depending on severity and publicity," Dr. Nicole Bennett replied. "Given the viral nature of this incident and the pattern of behavior at this location, I would estimate the higher end of that range." The math was brutal. Settlement, millions in lost revenue during investigation, stock price impact, legal fees, training costs, all because Chris thought a black woman couldn't afford first class. "Dr. Bennett," Walsh said carefully, "what happens if we implement your requirements immediately?" "Voluntary compliance demonstrates good faith," Dr. Nicole Bennett replied. "It shows federal regulators that your company takes discrimination seriously. It provides a framework for avoiding contract review." She opened her tablet again, showing the federal contractor status screen still glowing yellow. "However, implementation must be genuine, not performative, not temporary. Systemic change requires systemic commitment." A new voice joined Walsh's video call, a man in an expensive suit with general counsel visible on his nameplate. "Dr. Bennett, this is Michael Klein, our chief legal officer. Can you clarify the timeline for these requirements?" Klein was trying to buy time, standard corporate strategy, delay, negotiate, minimize. Dr. Nicole Bennett had seen it 1,000 times. "Mr. Klein, federal contractor obligations don't operate on corporate timelines. They operate on compliance timelines. Immediate means immediate." She checked her watch. "I have a Senate hearing soon. That hearing will include my testimony about tonight's events. The question is whether I testify about an airline that chose compliance or one that chose resistance." Klein leaned forward on the video call. "What specific actions constitute immediate compliance?" Dr. Nicole Bennett had prepared for this moment her entire career, the intersection of law, power, and justice. Employee suspensions effective immediately. Public apology from the CEO acknowledging discriminatory treatment. Commitment to third-party monitoring signed tonight. Settlement agreement executed soon. The demands weren't just legal requirements. They were corporate humiliations, public accountability, admissions of guilt that would follow the company forever. Walsh conferred with her team off camera. Hushed voices, rapid calculations, risk assessments. Stephen tried one last desperate gambit. Dr. Bennett, surely employee suspensions are extreme for what was essentially a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding. Dr. Nicole Bennett's voice carried ice. Mr. Caldwell, your employee told me this section was for legitimate passengers. He suggested I try Southwest because it was more in my budget range. He called me sweetheart and pushed me with his clipboard. She gestured to Kayla's still recording phone. Thousands of people watched your staff discriminate against a federal official. There's no misunderstanding here. There's only accountability. Walsh returned to the camera. Dr. Bennett, we accept your compliance requirements. Full implementation beginning tonight. Klein pulled out a legal pad taking notes. Employee suspensions effective immediately. CEO, public apology within a day. Third-party monitoring agreement signed tonight. Settlement negotiations begin soon. Excellent, Dr. Nicole Bennett replied. Mr. Klein, I'll need those commitments in writing. Email to my federal address soon. She pulled out a business card. Official Federal Aviation Administration letterhead, Gold Eagle seal. Failure to meet any timeline results in automatic contract review initiation. Contract review means suspension of federal funding pending investigation. For your airline, that represents millions in daily revenue loss. The nuclear option, the corporate death sentence. Walsh nodded grimly. Understood, Dr. Bennett. Is there anything else required for compliance? Dr. Nicole Bennett looked at Chris, Lisa, and Stephen, three people whose discriminatory actions had just cost their company millions of dollars and forced industry-wide changes. Actually, yes. Implementation must include executive accountability. Leadership that allows discriminatory cultures bears responsibility for discriminatory actions. Walsh understood immediately. Mr. Caldwell will be reassigned pending internal review. We'll conduct a full investigation of gate operations at this location. Stephen's career was over. Years with this company destroyed by the discrimination. Finally, Dr. Nicole Bennett said, your airline will participate in federal best practices development. The policies we create together will become the industry standard for all federal contractors. It was the ultimate victory, not just stopping discrimination at one airline, but creating new standards for the entire industry. Walsh nodded. We'll cooperate fully with federal best practices development. Dr. Nicole Bennett closed her tablet with satisfaction. Excellent, Mr. Klein. I expect your compliance documentation soon. Failure to meet that deadline initiates immediate contract review. She gathered her belongings, checking her watch one final time. Ladies and gentlemen, she announced to the crowd, this concludes tonight's business. I have a Senate hearing to attend. As she walked toward the jet bridge, Kayla called out, Dr. Bennett, any final words for the viewers? Dr. Nicole Bennett paused, looking directly into the camera. Change happens when consequences become real. Tonight, the consequences became very real. The live stream hit thousands of viewers, justice served digitally. Later, the email arrived in Dr. Nicole Bennett's federal inbox. Subject line, Compliance Implementation. Final report. She opened it over her morning coffee, scanning the corporate transformation that had begun with the discrimination at Gate B7. Immediate actions completed. Chris Harper terminated immediately. Banned from airline industry employment. Lisa Morgan suspended without pay. Mandatory bias training required for reinstatement. Stephen Caldwell demoted to a non-customer-facing role. Salary reduced. Gate B7 operations complete staff restructuring with diversity-focused hiring. The airline had moved fast. Faster than Dr. Nicole Bennett had expected. CEO Deborah Walsh's public apology had aired on every major network. Full-page newspaper advertisements in USA. Today, the Washington Post and the Wall Street Journal. The message was clear. We failed. We're changing. This will never happen again. But words were cheap. Dr. Nicole Bennett kept reading for the systematic changes, company-wide reforms implemented, dignity protocol, zero-tolerance discrimination policy with immediate termination consequences, real-time bias reporting app. Passengers can report discriminatory treatment instantly. AI-powered interaction monitoring, customer service conversations recorded and analyzed for bias patterns. Quarterly sensitivity audits. External consultants evaluate staff behavior and company culture. Executive compensation restructure. Percentage of leadership bonuses now tied to diversity and inclusion metrics. The technological solutions impressed her most. The airline had invested millions in monitoring systems, exactly what they would have lost in one day of federal contract suspension. Financial accountability settlement to Dr. Nicole Bennett. Amount donated to the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. Diversity training investment millions company-wide. Third-party monitoring costs annually for years. Public relations rehabilitation millions in advertising and community outreach. Total cost of the discrimination millions and counting. Dr. Nicole Bennett's phone buzzed with a text from Kayla, the teenager whose live stream had started everything. Dr. Bennett, my video hit millions of views. I'm getting college scholarship offers for digital activism. Thank you for showing me what real power looks like. The ripple effects continued expanding. Industry-wide transformation. The Bennett Protocols, named after Dr. Nicole Bennett's Senate testimony, had become federal law. Every airline receiving federal contracts now operated under enhanced discrimination reporting requirements. Mandatory bias training, federal monitor presence at major hub airports, pattern discrimination penalties, 3 verified incidents equals automatic contract review, passenger bill of rights with explicit anti-discrimination language, technological innovation. The monitoring systems developed for this airline became the industry standard. Real-time discrimination detection using voice analysis, behavioral pattern recognition, and instant escalation protocols. Other industries took notice. Hotels, restaurants, retail chains, any business serving the public began implementing similar systems. Cultural impact. Harvard Business School added the case to their curriculum. Systemic change through individual accountability. The Gate B7 incident. The lesson plan emphasized 3 key points. Documentation defeats discrimination. Federal leverage creates lasting change. Individual courage can transform entire industries. Personal transformation. Officer Torres, the airport security guard who had shown professional restraint, received a commendation and promotion. His body camera footage became training material for law enforcement nationwide. The elderly white woman who had spoken up for Dr. Nicole Bennett started a nonprofit, Bystander Intervention for Social Justice, teaching people how to safely support discrimination victims. Even some airline employees had transformed. Lisa Morgan, after completing her suspension and bias training, became an internal advocate for inclusive customer service practices. Legislative victory. Dr. Nicole Bennett's Senate testimony had provided the evidence needed for the Federal Aviation Reauthorization Act amendments. New laws requiring annual discrimination audits for all transportation companies, whistleblower protections for employees reporting bias, consumer transparency, public reporting of discrimination complaint statistics. The vote had passed with bipartisan support for accountability, ongoing monitoring. Later, Gate B7 operated under constant federal observation. Every customer interaction was recorded, analyzed, and reported. Discrimination complaints at O'Hare International Airport in Chicago had dropped to 0. Not because discrimination had disappeared overnight, but because consequences had become certain and severe. The ripple effect. Dr. Nicole Bennett's federal database now tracked similar incidents nationwide. The pattern was consistent. Document discrimination, apply federal leverage, create systematic change. Airlines weren't the only industry feeling pressure. Defense contractors, healthcare systems, construction companies, anyone receiving federal funding now understood that discrimination carried corporate-level consequences, final accountability. The airline's stock price had recovered within weeks. Investors appreciated companies that addressed problems decisively rather than defensively. Employee satisfaction surveys showed improvement. Staff felt proud working for a company that had chosen accountability over denial. Customer confidence increased. People wanted to support businesses that took discrimination seriously. Personal reflection. Dr. Nicole Bennett filed her final report on the incident, noting one crucial detail. The power had always been there. Federal law, corporate accountability, legal consequences, all existing, all available. What had been missing was the will to use it. The discrimination had provided that will. The transformation was complete, systematic, permanent. Months later, Dr. Nicole Bennett stood at the same gate, B7 at O'Hare International Airport in Chicago. Same first-class boarding line, same Friday departure. But everything else had changed. The gate agent, a young Latina woman named Isabella, smiled genuinely as passengers approached. Behind her, a discrete monitor displayed the airline's new diversity metrics in real time. 0 discrimination incidents this quarter. High customer satisfaction rating. "Good evening, Dr. Bennett," Isabella said, recognizing her from the mandatory training videos all staff now watched. "Welcome aboard." Your seat is ready whenever you are. No questions about ticket authenticity, no suspicious glances, no coded language, just professional service, the way it should have been. Dr. Nicole Bennett noticed the small changes that revealed bigger transformations, the dignity protocol poster on the wall, the bias reporting QR code next to every gate, the diverse faces among airline staff at every position, not just cleaning crews and baggage handlers, but managers, pilots, customer service representatives. These weren't token gestures. They were fundamental shifts in how business operated. As she settled into seat 1A, Dr. Nicole Bennett reflected on the journey from humiliation to transformation. The discrimination at the gate had created federal legislation affecting every transportation company in America. Industry-wide monitoring systems protecting millions of passengers. Cultural changes reaching beyond airlines into hotels, restaurants, retail. Individual empowerment for discrimination victims nationwide. But the most important change was harder to measure. People now understood that consequences were real. Corporate executives knew that discrimination carried corporate-level costs. Employees knew that bias training wasn't optional sensitivity theater. It was career survival. Customers knew they had power to document, report, and demand accountability. The balance had shifted. Dr. Nicole Bennett's phone buzzed with a message from Kayla, now a freshman at Howard University studying digital activism. Dr. Bennett, I just taught a workshop on documentation as resistance. Students learned how to record discrimination incidents safely. The ripples keep spreading. Another message, this one from Officer Torres. Ma'am, thought you'd want to know. Our new bystander intervention training prevented discrimination incidents this month. People are speaking up now. Thank you for showing us what courage looks like. The legacy continued growing. These weren't isolated incidents anymore. They were touching stories of individual transformation, creating systematic change. Real-life stories of people finding their voices, demanding dignity, creating accountability. Black stories that had always existed but were finally being heard, documented, and acted upon. Life stories that demonstrated how one person's courage could reshape entire industries. As the plane taxied toward takeoff, Dr. Nicole Bennett opened her laptop to review the federal discrimination database. The numbers told the story. Airline discrimination complaints down nationally. Federal contractor violations down across all industries. Successful discrimination prosecutions up. Corporate diversity investments up. Data-driven transformation. Measurable progress. Sustainable change. The plane lifted off, carrying Dr. Nicole Bennett toward another Senate hearing. Another opportunity to strengthen civil rights protections. Another chance to ensure that what happened at Gate B7 never happened again. But the real work happened on the ground, in airports, offices, restaurants, hotels, everywhere people interacted with power structures that had historically protected discrimination. The real work was done by ordinary people who chose to document, speak up, and demand better. Your voice matters. Your witness matters. Your courage matters. Have you experienced discrimination? Share your story in the comments below. Document everything. Report it. Don't let it disappear into silence. Subscribe to Black Soul Stories for more accounts of resilience, resistance, and transformation. Hit that notification bell because every story shared is a step toward justice. Share this video with someone who needs to see their power. Tag us in your stories of standing up to injustice. We amplify voices. We create change. We build the world we want to live in. One story at a time, one witness at a time, one victory at a time. This is how change happens. This is how it starts with. In the end, Dr. Nicole Bennett didn't just board her flight. She reminded every single person watching that real power isn't loud or flashy. It's quiet, steady, and rooted in truth. What started as a moment of humiliating discrimination at that airport gate became something far greater. A masterclass in courage, dignity, and the quiet strength that changes everything. She showed us that when someone tries to shrink you, diminish you, or tell you that you don't belong, you don't have to scream or fight back with anger. Sometimes the most powerful response is simply standing firm in who you are, documenting the truth, and letting the weight of justice do the rest. This story isn't just about one woman or one airline. It's about every time you've ever been overlooked, doubted, or disrespected simply because of who you are. It's a reminder that your voice still matters, your presence still counts, and your courage can ripple far beyond what you can see. One calm, collected stand can expose broken systems, spark real change, and force even the biggest corporations to confront their own failures. So the next time life tries to push you back, remember Dr. Nicole Bennett. Hold your head high. Document everything. Speak your truth with steady confidence. Because the world doesn't change by accident. It changes when ordinary people refuse to accept the unacceptable. If this story moved you, touched something deep inside, or reminded you of your own battles, drop a comment below. Tell us, have you ever faced discrimination and chosen to stand tall anyway? What gave you the strength to keep going? Share your story. We read every single one. And if you believe in stories of resilience, justice, and real transformation, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Let's keep amplifying voices that matter and building a world where dignity isn't optional. Together, one story, one witness, one act of courage at a time, we rise. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.